Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today in our launch of Youth at the 14th GFMD Summit. The title of today's event is Impact Beyond Impact because we are going to be trying to cover two things. First, we will be launching the Impact Report, which covers comprehensively youth participation at the 14th GFMD Summit, from the preparatory days, capacity building sessions, and everything post GFMD related. Then after that, we will also be highlighting the cascading effect of the youth participation and meaningful youth engagement at the GFMD. With that, we are super excited to have some delegates testimonials as part of our impact report. And we will also be talking about things that you don't see necessarily within the impact report, but the impact nonetheless of the GFMD. So that's kind of our word of the day. Without further ado, I'd like to pass on the microphone to one of our key partners in making not only the Migration Youth Forum possible, but also in making sure that youth participation at the 14th GFMD Summit was a reality. So would like to call on Neha Sinha, Migration Policy Officer at the Partnerships Division of the International Organization for Migration.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Francesca. And hi, and good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure if everybody's based in the afternoon, but for me, it's afternoon here. So good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here today just to kind of maybe give a bit of a recap of the amazing collaboration we've had with MYCP, with the Council of Europe, with UNICEF, long-term partners working together for the Migration Youth Forum. And this collaboration has been going on since 2018. So it was really amazing to be working together for this edition. And it's also really heartfelt to see the feedback and the amazing work that all of you have done to bring this report to light today and for the launch of this impact report. IOM has been collaborating with MyCP since several years, and also with the Migration Youth Forum, as well as the Youth Leadership and Innovation Award. This is a collaboration that is very much partnership-based. It is youth-led, and we are very proud to support this engagement. Just a quick, maybe few figures. I'm a lover of numbers, so always try to start from there. There's 281 international migrants as per like 2020 data. And from that, when you look at the numbers below the age of 30, from 0 to 29, almost 31% of them are below the age of 30. So 1 in 3, so to speak, of international migrants are between the ages of 0 to 29. That's a huge number. And clearly that data since from 2020 is probably very different now. This shows the impact, but also the importance of youth in the discussion on migration. And that's why it's very important for this Migration Youth Forum and the discussion that happens within that with young people on priorities that matter to you, that matter to all of us. I was very much reminded of this recently. I was in a meeting with young delegates who are working in Ukraine and in the surrounding neighboring countries. And their key message to me was, if you haven't answered to the aspirations of young people, you have failed. And that's a very strong statement. And I really accept that is absolutely true. The current future, in the current status now, and the future with the dynamic changes we see around this world, and the importance of migration in answering that challenge, in migration being a solution to those challenges faced by young people, for migration to be a choice and not to be a forced answer. That's the key. That's where IOM's work comes in. And that's also a place where we know that this cannot happen alone. And that's why partnerships with MyCP, with UNICEF, with Council of Europe, and with others that we've put together for the Migration Youth Forum. So very happy for this collaboration and really seeing this impact report come through and looking forward to the testimonials and the discussion today. Thanks so much, Francesca, and back to you.
Thank you, Neha, for those words. And of course, IOM has been very instrumental again in last year's GFMD, but not only in the participation at the summit, but also everything leading up to the summit and making youth participation a reality. We always consider IOM one of our strategic partners at MyCP, and we are really happy to have you here today and say a few words. And last year's Migration Youth Forum, for the first time ever, was also made possible through the support of the European Youth Foundation under the Council of Europe. And with that, I am very happy to welcome Mara Georgescu, Program Manager at Youth Organizations and Participation in Democratic Life at the Council of Europe, European Youth Foundation. Mara, for some few words, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Strasbourg. It's probably morning or late night in other places where you are, but it's great seeing you on the screen. I would have loved to be in a room with you as well. And I have very fond memories from our meeting in Geneva early this year, where it was very cold, but it was very warm-hearted discussion. So I am here to, well, learn from you still. We are learning together. I think as donors, we never quit learning somehow with young people. This event you organized was really amazing. And it showed again that by young people, for young people, this statement is not just a slogan, it's really very meaningful. And I think I told this to my colleagues when I came back from Geneva. This was probably one of the best discussion on migration issues I've ever seen in my life. And I'm seeing a few being at the Council of Europe because there was passion, there was know-how, and I think you had very, very good recommendations. I want to add two things as an opener. So first of all, in the Council of Europe, we have now something which we call youth perspective. So that means the young people's voice should be listened to in all the deliberations of this organization. And as you all know, the Council of Europe is an organization with member states. That means ministries of foreign affairs come together, decide on things, etc. And it's really, I mean, on the one hand, it's surprising we had to wait for 2024 to have this youth perspective, but now we have it. And I think this is also something that says that structurally international organizations need to make space for young people's voice and power to come to the fore. And with this, I also want to invite you to consider more structural cooperation in the Council of Europe, because we also work on migration issues. You know, we work also on youth issues. And notably next year, I'm already thinking 2025, because I think your ideas also go beyond this year. And they really bring a long-term perspective. In the next year, we are going to review a recommendation we have on supporting young refugees in transition to adulthood with the very complex situation when they turn 18. So with this, I give you just some food for thought that the door of the Council of Europe is open for your networks and for you also as individual and experts in this topic. And also to hint at this review that will happen next year, where hopefully we can get also your perspectives, because even though the Council of Europe is a regional organization, migration is a global topic. So we know this, and we are ready to have this discussion with all of you. Thank you so much. We hope we can give you other grants in the future as well. So this was the first cooperation, but I think the door is open for more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mara, for those words. And as not only I think MyCP, we value the European Youth Foundation, the Council of Europe as strategic partners, even though this is just a new cooperation. But I think this is also good news for our constituency. And I see here many leaders of the youth organization that's under the very broad constituency that we have, that not only spans, you know, Europe, but also the world. So thank you for those words, and really excited and looking forward for more possibilities for collaboration. I think that was a great start to our event. And now I'm very, very warmed up and super pleased to present to you the Impact Report highlights and officially launch the Impact Report from the GFMD, youth participation at the GFMD in the 14th Summit. I just also like to recognize here the presence of Alicia Leolig Ojeda, who was our co-director last year and who also spearheaded youth participation at the 14th GFMD. It's so nice to see you here, and it's also super nice to see that you've still continued engaging in youth and the participation of youth in migration issues. So just a little shout to Alicia. But next slide, please. Without further ado, here are some of the highlights from the Impact Report. Next slide, please. So the first thing that I would like to highlight is for the first time ever, we've had such a big historic delegation at the GFMD, and it was the first hybrid edition of the Migration Youth Forum. For those of you that don't know, the Migration Youth Forum is a tradition of the youth stakeholder network at the Global Forum on Migration and Development. It is officially embedded and integrated in the Global Forum on Migration and Development Summit as the Youth Preparatory Day. In the last year's edition of the Migration Youth Forum, which is the fourth Migration Youth Forum so far, we have had 124 people, 50 in-person youth delegates, 60 online youth participants, and 14 young people representing their government, GFMD mechanisms, or UN organizations also take part in these key policy discussions. As we did make this kind of a new approach to the Migration Youth Forum, we believe that this allowed for a whole of society approach for youth participation at the GFMD. Next slide, please. And so how did these delegates be selected? We also received an outstanding 1,200 applications, from which 50 delegates were selected to attend the fourth Migration Youth Forum and be part of the youth delegation at the GFMD. For those of you wondering how this selection process was done, it was a very rigorous selection process that was carried out in several phases. First, we did internal selection, which was mainly MYCP coordination team checking all the applicants, making sure that their eligibility for the GFMD, and they were also ranked based on the quality of their applications. The second part was done through an external selection phase, in which a pool of external applicant evaluators, specifically youth volunteers that are also working in the migration space and that did not apply for the youth forum, evaluated, and for those the scores were tallied, and a list of finalists were selected from. This was then sent to our partners for approval, and then we ended up with 50 delegates. Of course, the original delegates that were selected, a few of them did not make it to the actual youth forum because unfortunately visa constraints, and considering the last youth forum was in Geneva, but at the end we still had a very historic 50 delegates attending the youth forum, all of whom received some form of financial support or support to attend the GFMD. And so we'd like to thank our donors, notably the IOM, UNICEF, at COE for your support, but also the government, especially the government of Canada. And so the youth delegation at the GFMD summit had 50 people from 40 countries. And as you can see, the diversity of the delegation can be seen in these charts. Not only were all the regions represented, but also you can see the diversity in terms of nationalities at the GFMD at the Migration Youth Forum, in terms of place of birth, and of course in terms of residence. A big number of residents were based in Europe, but that was also mainly because the Youth Forum happened in Geneva. So logistically, it also made the most sense. Next slide, please. In leading up to the GFMD, we had several youth capacity development sessions. So first, we had youth participation in migration governance, past and present, which was kind of a retrospective on participation and youth and the GFMD. The second was towards a human rights-based approach to migration with our colleagues at the OHCR. The third was about the GFMD structure, just to give youth kind of a backgrounder on why this process is very important, and what are the technicalities that are involved in this process. The fourth was upholding human dignity, overcoming barriers to rights and to seek refuge by Miles for Migrants, which is an organization based mostly in North America that is helping, that works with organizations directly and to making sure that refugees and people on the move, so displaced people, can be sponsored, and especially in terms of flights, which is one of the hardest and most expensive parts of the migration process. Next slide, please. Then we also had a facilitation workshop from Initiatives of Change, or Cox Forum, in Geneva, and they are also a youth organization that is 100% very much like MYCP, youth-led and youth-centered. We've had How to Advocacy by our key partners at IFMSA, and I'd also like to just give a little shout to the IFMSA delegates that are here today in the Zoom. Thank you for joining us. Ever since this collaboration, we've had better synergies between IFMSA, and sometimes we invite IFMSA at MyCP. They've also had certain delegates recently join our Migration Health Forum in Dublin. So it really shows kind of how the collaboration and the spirit of collaboration has trickled down from the GFMD. And last but not the least, from IOM's iDiaspora unit, we've had Diaspora and Migrant Engagement for Sustainable Development, Transnational Solutions Driving Change, which was a really good capacity building in preparation for the Government Roundtable on Diasporas. So that is kind of what happened pre-GFMD. What happened during the GFMD? Next slide, please. So first is the outcome documents. On the final page of the impact report launch, you will find links to all the outcome documents, which are all the youth recommendations and very specifically detailed youth recommendations, but also examples of best practices and challenges that have been identified during the roundtable discussions at the Migration Youth Forum. I have prepared here a summary of those youth priorities based on GRT theme, which unfortunately I don't think we'll have the time to cover today. But a more elaborate executive summary of each GRT theme, each of the priorities identified has also been included in the impact report launch, and you all will have access to the outcome documents that were not only prepared by in-person delegates, but also by our online delegates. So each GRT theme was patterned exactly after the GRT themes at the GFMD, as the Youth Preparatory Day is kind of a space to collaborate and to corroborate all of the youth priorities, so that those that will be intervening during the discussions at the GRTs themselves during the summit would make sure that youth priorities that they are representing are those that have been collected prior. So next slide, please. These are the priorities identified as well for the 4th roundtable, 5th roundtable, and 6th roundtable. Next slide. Now, 50 young people from 40 countries participated in 6 government roundtables. So for the first time ever, youth did have access to all 6 roundtables at the GFMD. In addition to that, there was a strong regional focus in last year's GFMD that was not only present in the Migration Youth Forum, but also in the actual GFMD at the sidelines, where we organized the Innovation Lab during the summit. In addition, MyCP co-organized the side event Collective Storytelling, Women, Youth, and Diaspora Engagement, Next Steps in Planning, with our key partners, the ICMPD as well, and EUDIF. And in addition to that, next slide, please, our very own co-director, Florencio Vente, actively contributed to the GFMD SDGs Rapporteur team. And the synthesis of this report is now available, and we have also linked it within the impact report so that you can have a look at this. And we very specifically outline the needs of the youth within this report. Next slide, please. And now I'd like to hand it on to Josefina Echenique, who was the leader of last year's Youth Leadership and Innovation Award. Over to you, Josefina.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's super nice being here all together again and recap all the work that we have done last year and at the beginning of this year. My name is Josefina Echenique. I am MYCP Community Engagement Lead, and I was the coordinator of the Youth Leadership and Innovation Award. As you may know, at this point, sorry, Mark, next slide. As you might know, at this point, young people under the age of 30 represent the 31% of international migrants. We as young people on the move, we have challenges and priorities specific to our age, and we need responsive policies reflecting of this. Further, many young people are also experts and leaders working at the forefront of migration issues in their home and host communities. This reality may move us to create the Youth Leadership and Innovation Award, a global contest empowering young leaders to drive innovative solutions for migration challenges. The Youth Leadership and Innovation Award, organized as part of our youth strategy for the GFMD in this first edition, has allowed young entrepreneurs from all the world to present their innovative projects and compete for the chance to win seed funding and mentorship for scale and further replication of their projects. Next slide, please. But the Youth Leadership and Innovation Award is more than a contest and a reward. It's a testimony of the potential of young leaders to find innovative solutions to key migration challenges. It's a source of inspiration to other young people. And we should definitely keep on working and empower this incredible source of creativity and innovation to achieve sustainable development goals. Next slide, please. In this second edition, we received more than 375 innovative existing solutions that have been implemented with a concrete level of success, developed by young people in the three main categories that were the three main GFMD priorities: climate mobility, social, economic, and cultural contributions of diaspora, and health and safety, migrant access to basic services. From this competitive pool, only the initiatives of 6 applicants were selected to present their initiatives in front of a multi-stakeholder jury and compete for the chance to win said funding. Each finalist has been paired with a mentor to improve, develop, and prepare their initiatives for the pitch competition. For the mentorship, we count with the support of our strategic partners, IOM, UNICEF, ODIF, iDiaspora, and EFMSA. Let me now introduce the 3 remarkable winners, each presenting one of the key categories of the Youth Leadership Innovation Award, who are already making a significant impact in their category, in their communities. I'm thrilled to let you know that 2 of the winners are here today, and we'll share their testimonies in a little bit. Next slide, please. In Tanzania, a prolonged drought has severely impacted food security of over 240,000 people. Recognizing this challenging, Karim Joel founded Taka Tanzania, a project that used geospatial technology to anticipate human mobility and humanitarian needs. Karim was the first winner of the second edition of the Youth Leadership and Innovation Award. Next slide, please. At the beginning of the civil war, Jean Dawad, who grew up in Syria, moved to Turkey. Inspired by her personal experience, Jean founded Peace Therapist, a platform providing psychological support online for anyone in need, especially people on the move. Jean was the second winner of the Youth Leadership Innovation Award in the Social, Economic, and Cultural Contributions of Diaspora category. Next slide, please. For the first place, we had Wendy Vera Garcia, a migrant from Venezuela living in Ecuador. As a young feminist activist, she is part of the Forsterninia movement, which advocates for women's and girls' rights. The movement Wendy leads, it's called Education in Emergency, which aims to provide education to migrants to young girls migrants in Ecuador. We will hear the testimonial of Karine and Jean soon, so prepare for that. Next slide, please. Our commitments goes beyond celebration and reconnection, and it extends to actively involving and empowering these young people to develop their projects. Beyond the financial support, all the awardees received capacity building sessions and workshops by Columbia University professors who were our partners in the mentorship program for the Youth Leadership and Innovation Award, and a training on innovation for social change led by IOM to help further develop and expand their initiatives. Next slide, please. I think at this point, we have previously demonstrated the great potential of the Youth Leadership Innovation Award to be a starting point for future partnerships and opportunities. After wrapping up the second edition of the Youth Leadership Innovation Award, we were able to partner with IOM Innovation Unit and organize the Connect webinar. The webinar highlight the intersection between innovation, youth, and migration. And in this session, we featured the participation of Karine Joel, the winner of our second edition of the Youth Leadership Innovation Award. Last May on the 9th UN Multi-Stakeholder Forum on Science, Technology, and Innovation for Sustainable Development Goals, we co-designed a webinar, Innovation Humanitarian Relief, that explores the dynamic landscape of humanitarian relief innovation. Among the panelists of the webinars, we have two of our Youth Leadership Innovation Award finalists, Jingwa Dov and Abubakar Sadiq. Also, last May, our three winners starting the IOM Lead Training on Innovation for Social Change. The program offers a selection of self-paced and live sessions, allowing learners to tailor the experience of the training to their interests and needs. We have also the honor of participating as a jury in the final evaluation of the Knowledge Fair and Impact Awards organized by IOM. And I also have been invited last October to participate in the Hello World Accelerator organized by Ashoka with the support of IKEA Social Entrepreneurship that aims to amplify the impact of social entrepreneurs focused on migrant talent. Next slide, please. So I'm thinking about, and maybe you will thinking, why the Youth Leadership Innovation Award? As I told you before, the Youth Leadership Innovation Award, it's more than a celebration and a reward. It's a forum to showcase the potential of youth-led solutions. We want visibility. Also, our idea for the next edition is working as an innovation accelerator, strengthen capacities of young leaders to lead successful initiatives is vital. They need us. As well, we want to create a network of social entrepreneurs and change makers to foster the collaboration between them. Thank you very much for joining today. I'm really excited about what's going on with our entrepreneurs and what will happen with our next generation of entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, Jose, for that very comprehensive presentation. And I think you really highlighted the idea of impact beyond impact, the theme of today's discussion. And just to add to what our superstar, Jose, has already told you about highlighting the solutions at the YLIA. Ever since the 14th GFMD, 8 delegates have joined MYCP either as members of the coordination team or as project leads in the GCM and GFMD. So it really shows how there is a cascading effect when it comes to what had happened and the contributions and how the GFMD impacted the lives of the youth. Several delegates and Youth Leadership and Innovation Award finalists have also since been invited as panelists, speakers, and presenters in different fora and conferences that are somehow related to the GFMD. Abubakar, for example, was invited as speaker in the Youth Forum in New York. Karine was selected as during a Science and Technology Forum to present her project, which she will be speaking about just after this. CRISPRs is currently working on a documentary that is related to migration in the African region and in collaboration with IOM. And Yorgos delivered a training on displacement and health for 2 groups of med students participating in the IFMSA exchanges program. So without further ado, I think to even highlight the better than me what the impact beyond impact has been for these delegates, may I call on the winner of last year's Youth Leadership and Innovation Award, Karine, who will talk about what it's like, what it's been for her since the GFMD and her post-GFMD reflections. Karine?
Hello.
Hi, Karine. On to you.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me today. It's good to actually connect to many familiar faces that I met during the 4th Youth Migration meeting, and also get an opportunity to share our work back here in Tanzania that was very much influenced to growth through the Innovation Award and the participation at the summit. Also, just to connect to former friends and hear what also other young people are doing or have been doing in these past few months. I'm Karine Joel Mwakitalu, the founder of Notaka Tanzania, which works in the intersection of climate change and migration. We're very much focused on climate mobility data, seeing how we can help governments and development stakeholders to empower communities that are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change by forming adaptation strategies and understanding basically the extent of the problem and the crisis, the climate crisis at the local level. And we were very honored to win the Migration, Youth and Innovation Award this year. And this award has been very much life-changing for us at the Hub. We have gotten access to grow, connected to the right people in networks, but also think tanks. As it was mentioned, we had an opportunity to present our project at global platforms, including the Science Summit in New York, which was very, very, very impactful to our work. And these opportunities have really, really spearheaded our work on the ground. Since the award, we have been able to expand our work in the camps, but also outside. We've been able to engage more of over 350 people from the local communities through 8 consultations. So at first, because of funding restrictions, it was hard for us to reach more people for consultations, because as shared during the Migration Summit, we want to create a model that can help us do an analysis instead of us creating a new software or doing the whole process of data analysis every time we have an area that we're interested to study. So the model will help us understand different contexts and avoid the replication of the process that is long, tedious, but also very much expensive compared to us being a young hub. So we've been able to set up our machine learning data collection tool. And right now we are currently piloting and filling it up with more data through the consultations that we are doing, and the engagement that we're doing with the community. We've also been able to transform that tool to hem in more languages, because when we went to the field, we realized that the people that are on the move are from different contexts and countries, and therefore the funding that we got from the Innovation Award helped us to revamp our system and tool, but also conduct these consultations on the ground, which was very, very helpful. I'd just like to thank GFMD for having us this year through MYCP and the team, Josefina, and everyone for not only just having us, but also empowering us and also thinking about young people when opportunities come by, and just mentioning our names and the initiatives that we do in the right places and in the ears of the right people. This has been very, very impactful, especially for grassroots communities that we work with. Thank you so much. Please feel free to go to our website. We're currently progressing it, but there's more information that we are adding in by day, and feel free to interact with the data, reach out to me from the contacts that you'll get in the website, and let's have more conversation about climate mobility data. Thank you.
Thank you, Karine, for that presentation, for letting us know how it's been for Notaka Tanzania ever since the JFMD. Feel free to drop in the links to your website so that people can have a look after. And of course, we have also linked this in with the actual impact report. So that's something that you can have a look at. But amazing work, Karine. Now passing it on to who we have the honor to have with us today, Jin, who is not only one of the delegates and the finalists at the YLIA, but who has recently also been awarded the Nansen Refugee Award by the UNHCR for her contributions in the field. Jin, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for organizing such an event today. And it's an honor to be here. And I'm so glad to see you all here since January this year. And like having this time and having these reports all together is so precious, as you are also youth and doing all of these amazing efforts. I really appreciate it. I will try to share my screen. I prepared like a small presentation to talk more about the developments happened since we've seen each other the last time. I can tell about Peace Therapist. It's have been an amazing year for Peace Therapists. Like this is like an amazing moment from the time we have met in January with the team of MYCP. As I had like the opportunity to do my presentation about Peace Therapist and winning the award of category of diaspora. And it was like an amazing chance to be a part of this amazing community. You can see here like all of the precious people I have met there, and to do all of this work all together. If you don't know about Peace Therapist, I will explain it in a short way now. Peace Therapist is a initiative. It's a platform that's providing mental health services for now in 4 languages: English, Turkish, Arabic, and Kurdish. And we have plans to add new languages in the future also. In fact, it was born because of my own experience. After I came from Syria to Turkey, I was 14 years old, and I had like this trauma because of like the situations there. I thought about like the thing that refugees and anyone can receive like therapy in their mother language without leaving their homes anytime and everywhere, anywhere. That's why I came up later with like Peace Therapist is valuable for us because it's a social tech initiative. We have more than 100 psychologists. We are working with 4 languages. We're using AI to match between the psychologists and the people who need therapy. We have like 3 working models. We do like collaborations with organizations. As the one we have done with the ILO and Spark, People in Need. And it was like an amazing also point to say that after the award of youth leadership innovation in January, we have done like another collaboration with ILO. We are also working with the peoples, like anyone can come and reserve their own session, like without being an organization. Also, we have like a social part that every year we are making a budget to provide free mental health services for refugees, disadvantaged groups, and also humanitarian disasters affected people like earthquakes, as we have helped many of people after the big earthquake hit Turkey and Syria. Like according to the analysis, like every time I look at this number, unfortunately it's been increased. When I made this presentation, it was like this much. Now it is 10 million people more. So we must act to do something for these people. This is also an amazing development happened after the MYCP GFMD summit this January. I had the honorable moment of receiving Nansen Refugee Award for Europe a few weeks ago in Geneva also. And also I made a speech about how it is important for us. It is amazing to have like awards like this to make you feel like all of the work that you are doing is being appreciated, it's being seen, and you feel the responsibility more to do even more to the people who are awaiting for your support. I am a refugee and anyone can become a refugee. It is not a choice, but the choice is to help refugees and do something for them. This is also like some photographs from the presentation I've made for the UNHCR team and the visit we have done for the ILO Geneva office. We have plans to raise more awareness about mental health. It is like a hard topic to work on because of the lack of awareness, especially in the Middle East and especially in Turkey. We have plans to do more of these partnerships. We welcome partnerships to work with people anywhere, in fact, not only refugees, but because 3 out of 4 refugees need psychological support, we are having like a special effort for them, let me say. And as I said, like adding new languages and working with new countries also. Peace Therapist was born because of war. So we always have this idea on building inner peace and contributing in building peace in the world. Final thing to say, by our shared journey, I'm inspired by you all. Like with this journey and collaborations we are building across borders, youth-led efforts are not just initiatives. They are movements for real change, fostering inclusion, resilience, and dignity for everyone affected by the displacement. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be part of the GFMD community and to continue this journey together with you all. I can share with you later the link of the UNHCR like video made by them for peace therapists and the speech in the chat section. You can take a screenshot to be in communication anytime. And please take care of yourself, and thank you all.
Thank you, Jin, for that amazing presentation, and congratulations again on behalf of the MYCP community and for your amazing work and for the well-deserved award. And now another delegate, but who did not participate in the YLIA, but has been very active in her work, specifically in leveraging the power of the young women diaspora in Europe. I'd like to call on Aitol Gon. Floor
Hello.
is yours.
Hi,
Hi.
everyone. I want to share my screen also. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's a privilege to share how I and my organization Danaker, our diaspora organization of women from Kyrgyzstan in Poland, has grown since 14th of Global Forum on Migration and Development, and what it has meant to elevate our mission on such an international stage. Yeah, and Danaker, when I first founded this organization in June 2023, our mission was to empower Kyrgyz women in Poland, preserving our cultural heritage and facilitating integration into Polish and European society. And I want to say that we have stayed true to that mission, but our journey since GFMD has taken our efforts to new heights, giving us tools, partnerships, and visibility that are driving meaningful change. Yeah, at GFMD, my participation wasn't just a personal honor. It was a turning point for Danaker and Kyrgyzstan's representation in the migration space. And my journey that included the participating in the Future Forum 2023, where I had the privilege of competing in the Diaspora Youth Speech competition as one of the 3 finalists. And I presented my project called Mentor Aim, a project close to my heart and aimed at unlocking the potential of young migrant women through digital mentorship. Winning the first prize opened doors I could not have imagined. And after this event, this recognition led to the incredible collaborations with the EUDIF implemented by the International Center for Migration and Policy Development, ICMPD, and the Migration and Human Trafficking Council under the Speaker of the Kyrgyz Republic's Parliament. We co-organized a side event at the GFMD titled Collective Storytelling, Women, Youth and Diaspora Engagement. Here I spoke on behalf of Danaker and sharing not only my personal migration story, but also how I, alongside my dedicated team, built Danaker from the ground up to address the unique challenges our community faces. So this moment of representing my country and our diaspora was deeply humbling, knowing Kyrgyzstan's, especially women's voice in this forum, had been limited until now. Yeah, and I had also a chance to take part in the Forced Migration Youth Forum and GFMD as a youth delegate. Through these experiences, I have been continuously inspired by the talented young leaders I met in these 2 events and whose insights have enriched my own work. So as a PhD candidate in international migration, seeing policy in practice on a global scale has significantly widened my perspective, directly benefiting our initiatives in Poland and Europe. For instance, connecting I met with EUDIF and IOM in Geneva, and they connected us with IOM Poland. It's already translating into the tangible support for our beneficiaries. So through the IOM, we are now better equipped to assist our community. And our partnership with EUDIF has been a cornerstone for us, solidifying our shared goals. And one of the most powerful takeaways for me has been in support and solidarity from my colleagues in the Migration, Youth and Children platform, MYCP. Before GFMD, I often felt isolated in this work as a leader, but through the MYCP, I have gained a network of allies who remind me I'm not alone in this journey. So they have provided encouragement, resources, and guidance, making a difference not only for me, but for Danaker's growth as well. And building on the momentum from GFMD, on March 9, Danaker, in collaboration with the Migration and Human Trafficking Council, hosted the first European Forum of Women from Kyrgyzstan. This historic event, brought together Kyrgyz diaspora organizations from 14 different European countries. A unifying moment that celebrated our heritage while fostering cross-border support, and IOM Poland, MYCP and UD were instrumental in this achievement. They took part in person in our event in Warsaw in Poland, and their support, has underscored the power of partnership in diaspora work. For example, UDIF, ICMPD provided a mentorship how to organize such a big event. After such successful forum, we were motivated to launch the 2nd edition, strengthening our network and building and a legacy of solidarity across Europe. We are going to organize with the Kyrgyz diaspora organization based in Austria, in Vienna. We are going to organize a second edition of this forum. We will specifically focusing on the quality education and gender equality. And recently, I had a chance to participate in the Summit of the Future at the UN headquarters in New York. It was in September. I was honored to speak at the panel discussion called Prevent, Protect, Sustain, and Collaborative Strategies for a World Without Human Trafficking. I represented the Migration, Youth and Children platform. In my speech, I emphasized the vital role that youth and youth-led organizations play in the fight against human trafficking. I also stressed the importance of adopting a gender-sensitive approach to protect women migrants and prevent human trafficking. I also shared our work, our advocacy work in our organization, how we support the women, young women, and preventing them from such a crime. And I'm deeply grateful for the opportunities and connections that GFMD and our subsequent collaborations have created for Danakar. So we are empowered by the knowledge, resources and community we have gained. And I'm confident that with the ongoing support of the partners like UDIF, IOM and MYCP, Danakar continue to drive meaningful impact in the diaspora field, specifically in women empowerment and gender equality. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation, Aitolgan, and it's great to see how much you've collaborated with MYCP ever since, and it's always a pleasure to see your work, and congratulations on the second edition of the forum. I'm really excited to see how it goes. Next, we would like to call on Rakan, who is not only who did not only attend the 14th GFMD as a youth delegate, but also as one of the Youth on the Move fellows, which is a fellowship that we have been co-implementing with UNICEF. Rakan?
Yes, thank you, Francesca. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to this event. I'm Mohammed Rakan. I'm from Syria, and I am here to be a representative of the Youth on the Move and Youth Delegate from MYCP. One of the youth advocate decided empowering refugees and support community to realize. I'm here again to be part of this event to share all of my experience during my Youth on the Move follows and my CB delegates. Next slide, please. I want to share my participation in GFMD was turning point, expanding my understanding global migration issues and rules, voice in driving changes. The forum introduced me to avoid approaches, inspired partnerships that have work and all of the people who's not back to home. GFMD helped me to build skills, diplomacy, cross-cultural communication, and advocacy. Finally, GFMD allowed me to advocate for young migrants, challenges be addressed. Next slide, please. After I attend GFMD, I developed my initiative Al-Amal to promote peace and integration, inspired by GFMD Global, conduct financial literature and entrepreneurship training for refugees and migrants, driving by GFMD, emphasis on economic empowerment. All of the training here in Egypt for refugees and migrants. I support all of refugees and migrants during our journey GFMD. And next slide, please. Yes, finally, as Youth on the Move follows, GFMD has shaped me roles as a youth leaders and helped me to be impactful youth voice in policy discussions. The fellowship allowed me also to have a network and knowledge from GFMD and collaborative work with NGOs and government bodies in for peace building and migrant policy. That's give me a lot of networking during roundtable and during any sessions attended. Next slide, please. Finally, with inspiration and insight from GFMD, I'm committed expanding my initiative Al-Amal to a global peace hub and support all migrants in Egypt and outside Egypt. And my goal is foster relations and integration across border, drawing on global experience and to bring impactful, sustainable change. And finally, in my plan, participate in GFMD in Colombia and see you again in next GFMD. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rakan, for sharing with us your journey, and we're also for representing the Youth on the Move Fellows, and also really happy that we've continued this collaboration with UNICEF moving forward. Unfortunately, Florencio couldn't join us today, but it's great to know that this is not the end of the fellowship, and if anything, it has expanded, and they just concluded the recent call for the recent events and launching the call for more Youth on the Move Fellows. But glad to hear also be joined by our UNICEF colleagues. And of course, last but not the least, I have also invited Tony, who's one of our youth delegates. And for the first time ever in the last youth forum, in the attempt to make it a little bit more inclusive, Tony was not only sponsored by the government of Canada on a full scholarship to join the GFMD, but through the partnerships and also the support of our partners, we have also allowed for Tony's interpreter to join us at the GFMD and have Tony's sign language interpretation allow him to participate and also intervene during the government roundtable discussions. Over to you, Tony.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, Francesca. I'm happy to see you all. Let me share my screen. My name is Tony Mlenzi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Tony Mlenzi. I'm from Uganda. I'm so happy I participated in the GFMD that happened this year. My background, my grandfathers lived in Rwanda back in 1950. And that means, and that made me love to advocate for migrants because we face many challenges. Some years back, I joined a social space that is love for immigrants, that advocates for migrants through art, storytelling, and sign language. And I'm passionate about the rights for migrants with disability. In GFMD, I got a very good opportunity, and it was my first time to participate. I enjoyed meeting different people, and many were very welcoming, and some learned sign language. That was interesting. We got an opportunity to participate in different round tables, and we discussed After GFMD, I got many opportunities. I got an opportunity to start working with an organization which is an international NGO that advocates for young people with disabilities. And they have a project that is We Can Work, which supports young Africans to work in 7 countries. And I support this as a learning and documentation officer, and it's a very good experience because it's my first job to work across countries. Also, after GFMD, I joined Disability Migration Network. This network I joined this network which focuses on countries in Asia. But it's because of what I did in GFMD, this network invited me to participate, and they want me to be there and support with disability inclusion, show my experience and how we can do better. We also hope to extend this to other countries, for example, Africa and other countries. Also, in April this year, I was invited at the University of Lancashire in UK to share my experience in disability inclusive young research. Yes. I also got an opportunity to be to share in the summit for the future, but I did not. I participated online, not physically. And more good news, I'm also a disability advisor at MYCP. That is very good news because now I am part of the team. And we expect to do more with the team about disability inclusion. My future plans are, I am happy and I hope to organize virtual engagements and campaigns on disability inclusion in migration through art and storytelling. Now I have a very nice platform to advocate. We expect to do more together. I also want to bring organizations of persons with disabilities on board on the intersection of migration and disability inclusion. You know, many organizations with disabilities have power to change outdated ideologies, and we need to bring this closer with us and work together. I also hope that next GFMD we will see more open spaces for young people with disabilities. I am happy that I am now part of MYCP, where we shall create more spaces for young people with disabilities, where they can come and share their experiences and ideas. I also hope that next GFMD we shall have about 10% And also hope that disability migration network can extend from Asia to other regions. And I also hope that the next Disability Migration Innovation Awards can improve young people with disabilities. It's true. Now we have many questions to think about. When you want to do something, people can ask you why. We have many questions why we need to include many young people with disabilities. The questions are many, and we are so ready to work with you in the future, and the future is now. When you go on the internet and try to search about migrants with disabilities, you get few results, which means that we have big work to do. We need visibility, we need more space to speak about inclusion. I'm also happy that our small article that I did, when you search on the web, you can get it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tony, for that amazing intervention. And we're really happy to have you join us at MYCP. And also thank you for those really good ideas that we will definitely keep in note for, and we might be stealing for the next GFMD. And speaking of the next GFMD, continuing with our theme today, just a little retrospective on youth participation to see how far we've come. And then we'd like to have some special announcements of and after that, we will go with special announcements for what's next at youth at the GFMD. But handing it over to colleagues at the ICMC CS Civil Society Mechanism, Umu and Alana, for a few words.
Thanks so much, Francesca, and thanks so much, MYCP, for having us here. I know many of you, and as some of you also know, I am myself ex-MYCP too, when working with Alicia on the previous years of GFMD in between. And so we're very happy to be threading it together between youth participation at the GFMD before MYCP, during MYCP now, working with civil society, and hopefully continuing to work together for the future as well. So for those of you who don't know, youth have been involved in the GFMD for quite a long time. But before MYCP was created, the civil society mechanism was the way in which that youth were participating. We used to have a child rapporteur and then a youth rapporteur, at times both, and they would be part of a smaller delegation of youth and children who would attend the civil society consultations and civil society preparatory days, which happened even before the mechanism system was in place at all. So in those times, yes, exactly, Milena was one of them before. And in those times, there were no full inclusion of mechanisms and stakeholder mechanisms into the different activities of the GFMD, save for this rapporteur who would then be able to speak on behalf of the constituency at the GFMD summit. So we had robust civil society discussion and preparatory days before, through which youth were invited. After a little while of this, the beginnings of MYCP were formed when they were a working group at the major group for children and youth, and that was a way to slowly start garnering some self-organization amongst youth, where that culminated in having some consultations, international consultations, leading to the very first Migration Youth Forum that happened back in Quito in Ecuador in 2019, I believe. And then after that, the major working group was born into MYCP, where youth stakeholders were self-organized, building in and contributing into all the different GFMD mechanisms as representatives, both of youth, but also as civil society members, as private sector entrepreneurs, as those working in governments, local and international. And so we are so happy and so proud to see MYCP and the self-organization of youth come so far in terms of both in the migration space, but in general, and then also to see them bringing migration rights and protection and the needs and priorities of young migrants to other spaces also that we work in, as well as going beyond just the migration governance sphere itself. One of the ways that we continue to have youth involved is that we have MYCP as a proud member of our International Steering Committee, which is the group of civil society that leads our engagement and our strategic discussions and engagement into the GFMD. They are a member of that group, and we're very happy to have them there. And we are happy to also have them continue to contribute to the discussions and planning of civil society into the GFMD, including consultations and dialogues that we have. We also work with them very, very closely in terms of ensuring that any civil society who are youth, who come through the youth constituency, have access to our consultations and our preparatory meetings, and are then also welcome to join our discussion. One of the ways I can think of this as well at the recent GFMD back in January was when we had bilaterals with governments. We had one with the government of the USA, and we're very happy to do so. And we were very then pleased to also invite members of the youth delegation who are working on national US policies and issues to also join our civil society bilateral. So you can see that civil society and youth work very closely together, and will continue to do so. Youth mobilization, youth grassroots activists, youth organizations, migrant-led youth organizations are a massive part of civil society and will continue to be. So we really want to emphasize this link that we have and this close working relationship, close partnership and alliance that we have between youth and civil society. So with that, maybe I can hand over to my colleague Umu Diallo to talk a little bit as well about some of the activities that we have as civil society coming up that we would like to invite all those at MYCP and in the network to join us as well. Umu?
Thanks so much, Ilana, and thanks again, everyone, for having us today. Thanks, MYCP, and congratulations to all the participants and for the amazing achievements also that you've reached. Yes, so we wanted to touch upon some of the activities, and other than the youth being part of the decision-making of civil society, then participating in the preparatory process by sharing their input in our global civil society consultations. We have been engaging also in the youth, for example, during the 14th GFMD summit under the French chair. And this has happened, for example, by having a youth rapporteur, youth and children rapporteur, along with a gender rapporteur and a race rapporteur, because we thought it was very important to bring into the GFMD those perspectives of inclusion, but also of intersectionality. So their role was really to kind of contribute to the discussion, but then also observe some of the dynamics that we see around youth participation or gender issue and race issue, and how we can also bring them more at the forefront. And in fact, some of the things that emerged from the youth rapporteurs was really that it's important to have to work with young people, not for young people. And this is a key message that MYCP, but that even civil society continued reiterating throughout the summit. And also another point was the importance of kind of streamlining and making sure that youth, yes, they're part of civil society, but they're also part of governments, of the private sector. So it's important that all the delegations have youth participants and that youth voices are included at all these different levels. And lastly, as much as youth are part of civil society, also some civil society are youth themselves. And so it was really great to see how MYCP was able to kind of bridge the gap and ensure that civil society were present at the 4th Youth Forum, but also at the Youth Innovation Award by having judges from civil society. And now that the 14th GFMD Summit is over and we started the process with Colombia, if we can already jump a bit forward, civil society have been really much preparing for this since July, and we had regional consultations where we were happy to see participation from all the different regions of youth organization, even from a represented regions such as the Pacific, that brought forward also the diversity of voices, not only within civil society, but then also in youth demands. And right now, as well as the civil society mechanism, we have working groups. One of the key topics you will see, spoiler alert, for the 15 GFMD is children and youth. And we are very happy that MYCP is leading that working group, but also then together with some of our civil society members, the International Detention Coalition. And you will be able to hear a bit more about this in a bit. But again, thanks to MYCP for convening this meeting. And we hope that all youths could be, or all of you would, if you want to engage with some of the wider civil society activities, we will always share with MYCP the invitation, and they will spread it forward. So we really look forward to continuing this partnership.
Thank you, Umo, and that's actually a really great transition for the next speaker, who is again, I had the pleasure of working with her in the last YLIA, but also really excited to be working with IDC in coordinating the CS arm of the roundtable that we are co-chairing with the governments of Brazil and Honduras. So Kat is out and back. We are co-chairing this year for the first time ever a youth roundtable, government roundtable on children and youth. And so without further ado, would like to call on Carolina Gotardo, Executive Director of the International Detention Coalition, to give a few words on this really exciting moment for youth at the GF.
Thank you so much, Francesca, and hello to everyone. I mean, it's afternoon here, but good morning and good evening for everyone else. I mean, it's such a pleasure for me to be at this forum. And I have to say that we have had an ongoing partnership with MYCP for quite a number of things, and it's one of the partnerships that I enjoyed the most. As Francesca was saying, I'm the director of the International Detention Coalition, and I have to say that at the previous GFMD, for me, one of the main highlights of the GFMD was being a judge of the Youth Leadership and Innovation Awards. I was very honored with that, but more than, I just found that so inspiring, and seeing all the talent and all these things that are happening across the world, because young people are moving them forward. For me, was really one of those points that I rated very high at the last GFMD, and I'm just delighted to see some of those champions and some of those people that won the award here today again, and to listen to all those great speakers. Another point that really stuck with me is that we were talking with some of the MYCP delegates, and of course there is always this talk about young people or youth are the future, but it was this point about, I mean, actually youth, and for me this is so clear, and it was so clear at the GFMD, and it's that youth are the present and the future, so both. And I have to say that in terms of youth being the present, I mean, the future is quite obvious, but in terms of being the present, I saw some of the youth representatives in action at the GFMD, and that under very effective advocacy style or advocacy strategies with governments and in other ways. And that's why for me, it's very clear that it's kind of the present and the future. With regards to the ongoing work on the consultations, I mean, as Omo and Francesca just mentioned before, we're very pleased to be co-chairing the working group on children and youth, as part of the GFND preparations for the whole civil society efforts. And just last week, we had our first consultation in different parts of the world that was very well attended, and that we developed in conjunction with the MYCP. which I think went very well. And there will be other consultations and other things that I really encourage everyone to participate on. The other thing we have done with MYCP is that we co-organize with MYCP and the UN Migration Network work stream on alternatives to detention that is co-led by IDC, UNICEF, and UNHCR, the first ever youth consultation on detention and alternatives to detention. And that was really a very well-attended meeting, and it was kind of a milestone in terms of youth advocacy on alternatives to detention. And we're also working on some joint initiatives in different regions with MYCP, for instance, in MENA, in the MENA region, and in Europe. So quite a lot of things that we're doing together. Just in terms of some of the substance, of course, being the director of IDC, the one that I will need to highlight here is the very important point about working towards ending child immigration detention. So, I mean, it's so clear that children do not belong in detention, and it's never in their best interest, and it is a form of violence against children and young people. So this joint work to end child immigration detention and promote alternatives will be one of our key focus, areas that we are jointly focusing on, and we're looking forward to continue working with MYCP on this. And with regards to, I mean, a couple of other quick points and issues to ensure that migrant children are treated first and foremost as children, and that therefore they can access all the protection systems in the same way as other children is so important. And the issue of stateless children, and of course, access to documentation and undocumented children, and access to rights in general are some of the points that for me are very important and that require so much advocacy and targeted efforts from young people in this upcoming GFMD. I just would like to finish by encouraging you all to engage in this process of the GFMD, to participate in the consultations, and to continue using your powerful advocacy towards advancing this agenda. And I think at this coming GFMD, we have even a better opportunity because we have the topic of children and youth specifically framed as one of the priority areas. So even compared with the last one, I think we have more scope for influencing, and I'm very, very much looking forward to working with all of you and encouraging all of you to engage as much as possible with this upcoming GFMD. And thank you again for the ongoing cooperation, and look forward to continuing cooperating with MYCP and with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carolina, for those words. And it is our honor to be continuing our cooperation with you, and really excited. But thank you for also really raising that very important point. We are here and we are talking about impact beyond impact, but there are also very real and serious issues like behind this. And at the end of the day, it's very important that these non-negotiables are brought to the table, and that we advocate for the youth priorities at the GFMD, making sure that the youth that cannot make it to the GFMD and that are in situations of distress, and that, for example, are in situations, in vulnerable situations, that we advocate for this at the GFMD and during all levels of engagement at the GFMD summit. And with that, I would like to bring a close to today's impact report launch. Apologies for going a little bit over time, but it's really important that we hear from all of these speakers and also from the actual delegates. I'd like to call on the global lead for migration and displacement at UNICEF, Tasha Gill, to formally close today's event.
Thank you so much, Francesca. And it was such a delight to stay over and to hear all of these speakers today. Let me start by congratulating our partner, MYCP, on this launch of the Youth Forum Impact Report. Just to underline impact is what came through so clearly in all of our speakers. You, MYCP, continue to play such a key role in ensuring that the Global Forum on Migration Displacement is that space where young leaders can shape dialogue and policy. And there's a lot of links in the chat I've seen to make sure that that's happening, those who are there in person and those who won't be there in person. The report really left me so impressed by the scale of youth engagement, the mobilization effort that you've led in the last GFMD, the preparation work, all of the engagement in advance, and that was captured in the outcome documents. more than 120 youth participation in person. It's really, and virtually, it's extraordinary. And it's so key to having that impact on solutions for communities. I've been inspired today listening to all of these young entrepreneurs, delegates, leaders, and our colleagues and peers on how they've taken innovative approaches across regions, making an impact not only in their own communities, but way beyond. These are extraordinary testaments to the importance of investing in youth-led solutions. Here at UNICEF, part of our partnership with MYCP is about our commitment to amplifying youth voices on child rights, on migration issues. And we want to make sure that youth on the move have meaningful opportunities to advocate, not just inclusion, but really to influence decision makers. And I think today's meeting has demonstrated so many examples of that. And so what we see as our role is also about building the advocacy capacity of youth to impact these policy decisions and perspectives of policymakers as well. And that came through clearly from our first speakers even today. So over the years, as we've seen, GFMD has continued to become more and more inclusive of youth voices. And last year's, at last GFMD, one of the key messages that we took away is really that migration responses will only be relevant and effective when they take on board the views and experiences of children and youth on the move. When it works for children, it works for everyone. And as we heard today, there are so many talented youth on the move who are ready to tackle all of these global challenges, and many don't have the opportunity. And so I really want to mention that this issue of talent is universal across all children and youth on the move, but the opportunity is not. And this was one of the areas, as was mentioned earlier, where we've looked at ourselves as UNICEF, recognized that UNICEF as an agency can be inaccessible to talented youth on the move because of circumstances, because of barriers, legal barriers, administrative barriers linked to their migration. And therefore, we decided to tackle this challenge together with MYCP, with the innovative program that you heard about before. And there's a link to a document in the chat, the Youth on the Move Fellowship. And we are trying to level the playing field by breaking some of those traditional hiring requirements to take down those barriers so that young people can engage with us and we can benefit from young people's voices and advocates. One of our Youth on the Move Fellows spoke today. 4 of the 23 Youth on the Move Fellows were at the Youth Forum at GFMD. And we know that our voice as UNICEF was strengthened because of them. We were better because of working with the Youth on the Move Fellows. And this goes way beyond the GFMD, invaluable to our work across offices, providing us with a really unique opportunity. We've seen the value, and so we've now moved from a small pilot project into a full-scale UNV program. This is something that we recognize is incontournable, and it's a must-have. And so we're excited to take the partnership forward with MYCP and bring this to scale to make this opportunity available to so many more talented youth on the move. And again, just today's session has been really inspiring and resonated with us in order to make sure that we continue that investment. So as we kick off the GFMD roundtables this week in Geneva, I'm thinking about 2 things. One of them is about making sure that governments and organizations are also investing in these opportunities to unlock potential, finding as many new innovative ways to identify and invest in opportunities, whether it's a fellowship program or creating council seats for municipalities for youth on the move, looking at ways in which we can systematically, structurally include youth on the move for different opportunities. And for all of the youth on the move here today, and those will be participating in person and online, hold us to account. Governments, organizations, UNICEF, each other, hold us to account to make sure that your say is going to actually impact and influence policies and programs. We see it as an imperative. So Francesca, with that, thanks again for the opportunity to close today and to look forward to the rest of this week. Really excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tasha, for those inspiring words. And again, like this is the end of today's launch event, but this is just the beginning of the next chapter of youth participation at the GFMD with our closest allies. Thank you for being here today. IOM, the Council of Europe, European Youth Foundation, UNICEF, the IDC, and the civil society mechanism, and of course the youth and the members of our constituency that make participation as the youth stakeholder network at the GFMD possible. We will be in touch. We will be sending everybody a copy of the impact report soon. And of course, you will receive future communications with regards to how, as the GFMD process rolls out, starting this week specifically with the first round of preparatory meetings in Geneva. With that, thank you for everybody who attended. I will see you guys hopefully soon or in our next events, and we will be in touch.